You know that feeling when you get completely obsessed with a game, not just playing it, but like really pushing it to its absolute limit?
Oh yeah, that total dedication, seeing what's really possible inside the game's world.
Exactly. And that's kind of what brings us to today's deep dive. We're going to get into the online world of this Japanese YouTuber, Mighty. That's M-I-G-H-T-Y.
Right. We're going to look at his content, especially this idea of Yarikomi and, well, all the controversy that popped up around him.
Yeah, there's definitely controversy. So for our sources, we're mainly looking at these really detailed fan wikis about his videos, plus an essay book he actually wrote himself.
And it's worth noting, these wikis are fan-driven, so you get this incredibly close, almost minute-by-minute perspective on what he was doing online. Very granular.
Okay, so our mission today, try to understand Mighty's whole online thing, the controversies, why people got upset, and really nail down what this Yaritomi concept is all about.
Sounds good. Let's start there then with Yarikomi.
Yeah, okay. So Yarikomi, what are we talking about here exactly for people who haven't heard the term?
Okay, so Yarikomi, it's a Japanese word, and it basically means playing a game, like, super thoroughly. It often involves setting yourself really tough challenges, you know?
Challenges? Like what kind?
Well, aiming for a kind of mastery or completion that goes way beyond just beating the game normally. It's deeper. Often involves handicapping yourself somehow.
So way more than just finding all the collectibles or something.
Oh, definitely. Think low-level runs, trying to beat the game, keeping your character as weak as possible, or maybe no equipment runs, stuff like that.
Right, like making it intentionally harder.
Exactly. And the sources mention some pretty wild examples from Mighty stuff, like trying to get incredibly rare things to happen, things with just astronomical odds against them.
Astronomical. Give me an example.
Well, okay, there was this Dragon Quest III run on the original Famicom version, apparently. He was doing a real-time attack, an RTA, trying to get 2 specific rare items, Satori no Sho, to drop back-to-back from the same enemy type.
Okay. What are the odds on something like that?
The sources say something like 1 in 4.2 million.
Whoa. Okay. That's dedicated.
Or maybe slightly crazy. Then there's the one where he tried to beat Zuma, the last boss in Dragon Quest II, using only the Gadabout class.
Uh-oh. I know the Gadabout. They're famously useless, right?
Pretty much. The estimated chance of succeeding there, about 1 in 300 million.
Whistles softly. Good grief. What drives someone to even attempt that?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it makes translating Yarikomi tricky, too.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Like, what do you even call that in English? Completionist run. Doesn't feel quite right.
No, it misses the self-imposed difficulty, the sheer grind involved sometimes.
Challenge run is maybe closer?
Closer, yeah.
Yeah.
But Yarikomi also has the sense of digging deep, of really exhausting the game's possibilities, maybe deep gameplay dives, or, I don't know, ultra completion. It needs something more.
Something that captures the almost obsessive thoroughness.
Exactly. It's that profound engagement, often with those self-imposed rules. That's key.
Okay, so Mighty built his channel on this kind of intense play. How did he first get big? How did the Yarikomi content take off?
Well, the wiki show he got traction pretty early on, particularly with games like Dragon Quest VI, Final Fantasy VII. His videos showed him pulling off these really tough feats.
Like what specifically?
Beating super hard bosses with, hardly any resources or in record time. The sources mention a Valkyrie profile hidden boss defeat, getting a lot of views early on, and beating Dark Dream in DQ6 without using the Medante spell. That was another big one.
So people were just drawn to these seemingly impossible feats. Was it the skill or just the sheer audacity?
Probably a bit of both, Seeing someone overcome ridiculous odds, it's compelling. It's like, wow, is that even possible?
Yeah, I get that.
And he leaned into the dedication aspect, too. Titles mentioning hundreds, even thousands of hours played.
Right, you mentioned those earlier, like insane numbers.
Yeah, like a DQ6 video supposedly left running for over 700 hours, and that claim of over 8,000 hours just to max out one character's level in DQ2.
8,000 hours. I mean, that's almost a full year of nonstop playing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These huge numbers really built this image of incredible, almost superhuman dedication.
Okay, but, and here's the turn, I guess, this dedication, or the appearance of dedication, led to some major problems, right?
Right.
What's the core issue?
Yeah, this is where it gets complicated. The main controversy boils down to suspicion, and later, what many saw as pretty strong evidence that his gameplay wasn't always, let's say, completely authentic.
Authentic how?
Specifically, the big accusation was that he was using emulators software that mimics consoles on a PC, but presenting it like he was playing on the original hardware, the actual console, or siki, as they say in Japanese.
Okay, wait, why is using an emulator such a big sin in the Yarikomi world? People use emulators all the time.
It's not inherently bad, but it's about transparency. For a lot of Yarikomi players, sticking to the original hardware with all its limitations is part of the challenge. It's part of what makes the achievement impressive.
Ah, okay. So what can emulators do that changes things?
Well, they open the door to stuff like save states, rewinding, frame-by-frame advance, tools that make difficult execution much easier. And crucially, they can potentially allow for manipulating random number generation, to say.
Manipulating RNG, like making lucky things happen on purpose.
Potentially, yeah. Or even using sheet codes. If you're presenting your run as this pure feat of skill and perseverance on original hardware, but you're actually using emulator tools, that undermines the whole claim.
Right, that feels dishonest. So what evidence made people suspicious? How did they figure it out?
The fan wikis are packed with this stuff. They really broke down his videos frame by frame sometimes. Like in that Valkyrie profile video, people noticed weird graphical glitches on an arrow texture.
Glitches?
Yeah, glitches that were known to happen specifically on a certain emulator for the PSP version, not on the original PlayStation.
Ooh, okay, that's specific.
Very. And similar things in an FF7 video. Apparent anomalies in Vincent's character model that just didn't look right for the original PlayStation hardware, suggesting it was rendered by an emulator.
Wow. The community really dug deep. Were there other big incidents?
Oh, yeah. There was this whole thing called the low-level Zuma kill update incident. He claimed a new record for beating Zuma in DQ3 at a super low level.
The boss with the 1 in 300 million challenge?
Well, this was a different low-level challenge, but still Zuma. Anyway, people started questioning if the run was legit. Accusations flew that he wasn't using the setup he claimed, maybe using tools. It caused a huge stir.
So that theme of authenticity just keeps coming up. It's like the core value.
Absolutely. It's fundamental to Yorikomi. The effort needs to be perceived as genuine. And there were other things too, like doubts about those massive play times and attempt counts.
Like the 8,000 hours.
Yeah, and other claims, like trying to beat E-Stark in DQ5 in just 4 turns. People calculated the odds and the time it would take on original hardware and just said, that seems unlikely given the time frame.
Right. Physically possible, maybe, but practically improbable within a reasonable time.
Something like that. And then there was that weird HP number in a DQ3 video claiming his magic user had 65,536 HP. That extra digit just screamed typo or something fishy. How do you even get that number legitimately in that game?
Yes, 65535 is usually limit, right? Like a programming thing.
Exactly. So that 65 was a huge red flag for many.
Okay, this is quite a list. The outline also mentioned thumbnail fraud. What's that about?
Yes, Samanisaki. Basically clickbait thumbnails. The thumbnail for a video might promise some incredible feat, like all stats 0, all clear.
Okay, sounds impressive.
Right, but then you watch the video and maybe he started with all stats at 0, but then lifted some of those restrictions partway through to make it possible. So the thumbnail kind of misrepresents the actual challenge or achievement.
Okay. Setting false expectations.
Exactly. And there were also questions about editing. Like really convenient edits in moments of supposed amazing luck.
Convenient.
The wiki points out one example in a slime-only run. Apparently, right before he gets a crucial second critical hit, the screen just cuts to black for a moment.
Huh. Why would it do that?
Well, the suspicious interpretation is that maybe the second critical hit didn't actually happen then, and the blackout was used to splice things together to make it look like it did.
Yikes. Okay, so the scrutiny was coming from all angles. Graphical glitches, improbable stats, questionable editing, misleading thumbnails. Did his book address any of this, the Restart book?
Restart, leveling up from 0, yeah. It seems like it might have been his attempt to kind of reset the narrative, explain himself, but according to the wiki's analysis, it might have backfired a bit.
How so?
Well, they found a whole bunch of inconsistencies within the book itself, especially when you compare it to his videos or things he'd said before.
Like what kind of inconsistencies?
Things like the timeline he gives for hitting subscriber milestones, like 100,000 subs. The dates he gives apparently don't quite match up with the public YouTube data.
Okay. Sloppy memory or something else?
That's the question, isn't it? He also apparently calls one video his second video ever, which seems to contradict how he described his earliest uploads previously. And importantly, the book tends to really downplay how much he used emulators in the past.
So not really owning up to it fully?
That seems to be the criticism, yeah. It contradicts the evidence people had already found and discussed online. So instead of clearing the air, the book seemed to create more questions for the really dedicated followers tracking this stuff.
Did they notice anything else weird about the book?
Yeah, apparently he avoids using actual game names a lot of the time. Like, instead of saying Dragon Quest, he'd call it that national role-playing game or something generic.
Huh.
Probably copyright reasons, trying to avoid needing permission from Square Enix or whoever. But it also kind of makes the book feel less connected to the actual games and Yari Komi he was famous for.
So, faced with all this evidence, all the wiki breakdowns, the book inconsistencies, how did Mighty actually respond to it all?
Well, the wiki does say he made apology videos at certain points and other statements, but a key thing he apparently emphasized, especially in the book, was this idea of self-branding.
Self-branding, what does that mean in this context?
The interpretation, at least based on the wiki, is that he argued his role wasn't just being a gamer focused on pure, authentic play. He was also a video creator.
Okay, so what's the implication there?
The idea seems to be that if people saw him more as an entertainer, a creator making content, maybe they wouldn't have judged the emulator use or the editing quite so harshly. It shifts the frame from, is this authentic gameplay, to, is this entertaining content?
How did that go down?
It drew criticism. For some, it felt like dodging the main issue, like saying it's okay because I'm an entertainer doesn't really address the core problem, which was the lack of transparency and the potential deception about how the Yari Komi was achieved. It felt like prioritizing marketing over honesty.
Yeah, I can see how that would rub people the wrong way, especially in a community that values authenticity so highly.
Exactly. It really underscores how important that trust is.
And this whole saga really highlights the power of these fan communities, doesn't it? That wiki sounds incredible.
It really is. It's like a testament to collective scrutiny. The fan-run wiki became this central archive, meticulously documenting everything. The videos, his statements, the evidence, the counter-arguments.
Like a repository of evidence.
Totally. It's got specific sections, like we mentioned, the problematic points, the emulator exposure points. They even annotated his book, pointing out line by line where they saw inconsistencies or questionable claims.
Wow. So it's not just complaining, it's like organized analysis.
Definitely. It shows how a dedicated community can really hold creators accountable, especially when claims seem too good to be true. They compared videos, cross-referenced statements, dug into the technical details. It's pretty impressive, in a way.
Yeah, no kidding. So, stepping back, looking at the whole Mighty story,
Yeah.
what does it ultimately tell us about Yari Komi and this kind of gaming content creation?
I think it throws this really interesting tension into sharp relief. You've got the undeniable appeal of Yari Komi, that incredible dedication, pushing boundaries. It's fascinating.
Right.
But then you have the shadow cast by these allegations of inauthenticity. It forces us to ask, what is Yari Komi if the methods used aren't transparent or potentially manipulated? Does the impressive result matter if the process isn't genuine?
It really messes with your perception of the achievement, doesn't it? Knowing it might not have been done the way it looked.
It completely does. Because so much of the admiration for Yari Komi comes from appreciating the sheer effort, the struggle against the odds, the mastery of the actual game limitations. If you take that away or cast doubt on it, what's left?
Just the entertainment value, maybe.
Perhaps. And that leads to the big question. In this kind of content, does the entertainment, the spectacle, outweigh the need for verifiable dedication? How much does that trust between creator and audience matter?
Yeah, that's a tough one. There's no easy answer.
No, definitely not. It really depends on what you, as a viewer, value most.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on after hearing all this. When you see these incredible gaming feats online, how much does the possibility of it being faked or manipulated change how you feel about it? Where do you draw the line between impressive entertainment and authentic achievement?
And if this whole saga has piqued your interest and you want to go down the rabbit hole yourself, definitely check out those fan wiki pages we've mentioned. They have all the details, the evidence, the arguments laid out. You can really dig in and see the specifics for yourself.